Hello everyone. Today is December 19th, 2016. I wasn't planning on making this video, and certainly not today, but some information came across my peripheral, and I grabbed it and brought it in because I felt it was very important. Took it to Thoth, and it's kind of coming together with things I've already been receiving, connecting the dots. And I'm going to share just as briefly as I can with you how this all works because I feel it is extremely important. Do you have to know it? No, you don't have to know it. You don't have to know anything except that you're a heart-centered divine being. But I thought it would be very, it's a vital piece that can help you understand maybe a lot of what's going on for you right now. And what's going to be going on for you in the next possibly month or longer, maybe much longer. So probably much longer. So here we go. So we're going to begin by watching this video. It is, well, you can see it. Large wave of energy from unknown source hitting Earth now. Possible effects, ? Now, I'm not going to show the whole video. The fellow on this is getting really excited about what he's seeing because he's been monitoring these things for a long time. He's never seen anything like this. So he kind of goes on and on and on about it, which is all, I'm sure, very good information. But we're just going to watch a little of it. So here we go.
Okay, take a look at the screen here. What I've just turned on here is something called the microwave background imagery from the MIMIC TPW out of the University of Wisconsin. And this normally shows total precipitation or total precipitable water vapor in the different storm systems around the planet. And it's derived from microwave satellite imagery. And what you're going to see on the screen here is not a storm of any kind that we would normally think of storm-forming-wise, like precipitation and water. What this is a planetary disturbance of some kind of global shockwave of some kind of energy that is working along the same bandwidth that the satellite is detecting. The microwave background imagery at like 35 gigahertz or some large amount, very high up in the electromagnetic spectrum. Observing this water vapor is detecting an energy return. This is not a glitch. This is not a computer error. We've seen this happen before, but on a much smaller scale. And when I say smaller scale, I shouldn't say it's too small. We've seen this happen before with X-class solar flares, but nothing like what you're seeing on the screen here now. And let me just show you guys really quick, okay? So we're over here, and let me take you over and show you something from my website. Okay, now keep in mind, we're looking at the MIMIC TPW right now. I'm going to open up a new screen, and you guys are welcome to search it this way as well. Search MIMIC TPW Dutch Sense Solar. And what you're going to find is a few posts that I put out over the past few years where, when a solar flare is happening, a Earth-directed X solar flare, for instance, that hits Earth takes like 2 to 3 days to actually emit those charged particles, and then they come to Earth. It takes a couple days to get here. When the charged particles arrive, what you're going to see on the screen here, and hopefully you guys can hear me and see me here. Okay? See this? Okay, the wave of energy hits. That's the X-class flare, taking 2 days to arrive on the planet. There it is, zap. Then we start to have what's called missing data, which is a white area that'll show up. The reason we even used this system to begin with was back when we were doing HAARP research and radio frequency research, specifically in the microwave bands, that we were using this to observe man-made systems such as radar systems, high-powered ship systems that are out in the oceans, observing those, using this system unintentionally. It's not an intentional use for it. The only reason it shows up, it's interferometry, it's interfering. There is a microwave signal on the same bandwidth emitted by the sun when the solar flare occurs. The charged particles hit the atmosphere, cause a reflection on the same bandwidth, and that's what causes this. And this was back from 2015, just one example. Okay? But we get over and take a look at the microwave background imagery for today, and you saw the X-class flare. This is so much bigger, so much more powerful. So it's way more powerful than an X-class flare hitting the Earth. And the reason it's taking this S shape across the Earth isn't because it's S-shaped. It's actually going around the whole planet at once within an hour or two of each other. This reverberation happened last night going up to 3 hours ago, and it probably is still going on right now. And you can see the wave shape that it's taking as it's going across the whole planet. Both sides of the planet are being hit at the same time, letting you know it's affecting the whole planet. And the amount of energy on this, I mean, I want you to think about this. A wave of energy that's returning on the 35 gigahertz microwave background imagery, ultra high frequency, beyond ultra high frequency. And it's showing up across the whole planet all at once. The amount of energy associated with that. For instance, a NEAAF radar putting out a powerful microwave signal at 2.7 gigahertz. Okay, microwave, not ultra-high microwave, but microwave. From, let's say, one of the states in the United States. All right? One of those is putting out 750,000 watts of power, and it doesn't even show up as a blip on this thing. So, we're talking about large amounts of energy that would take to perform this amount of interference on the NEAAF, or on the microwave background imagery that we're seeing here. And the NEAAF example I just gave you is a perfect example, because 750,000 watts is a tremendous amount of power radio frequency-wise. It's enough to cover a whole state or two states region. So, when you're talking about this, getting excited to the level that it's being excited over such a vast area, the energy potential has to go somewhere. So the electricity associated with that, let me dumb it down for everybody. Even a kid can understand this. There's a lot of electricity associated with this wave as it's scuffing its feet across the carpet of the Earth. Have you ever scuffed your feet across the carpet on a dry day, and you store up electrons in your body, and then you go touch the doorknob, or if you want to play a joke on your spouse or your sister or brother or whatever, you go touch them on the ear, and you zap them, right? With that little amount of scuffing across the carpet. Well, the same thing happens on a much more vast scale with the Earth and charged particles. And as particles scuff their feet across the atmosphere, or the upper ionosphere, or the magnetosphere, that actually scrapes the electrons out and pulls them down to ground. And instead of shocking your hand on the doorknob, that electricity goes down to the core of the Earth and shocks the core of the Earth. And the energy potential on that is huge. Now, I don't want to get into conspiracy. I don't want to get into crazy talk. I don't want to talk about all the stuff that people have been talking about online recently. This is the biggest dang coincidence in the world, if it is a coincidence. And I'm not willing to discount coincidence. But, look guys, there's a giant wave hitting the Earth right now, showing up on the microwave background imagery, and you really got to wonder, what is causing it? It's not a glitch. Is it a practical joke? You know what I mean? Did one of the people that Mimic watch one of BP's videos, and you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, we'll make a joke, we'll put it on there, and they put it on there, and they're sitting there laughing right now. I hope scientists don't do that. But this is something that we have to watch. Okay, we have to watch out for what? Well, we have to watch out for the potential of a large earthquake. If, and this is an if, I have to be willing to discount this as some kind of thing that's not going to have an effect, but if it were to have an effect, look at the amount of energy associated with that. If that did have energy associated with it, the amount would be huge. The amount of microwave energy combined to total that. So if that, let me put it in perspective. Let's say there was a man-made system of some kind of new ultra-HARP. They don't have it, but let's just say they made it. They made some new breakthrough in radio frequency. And it emitted a giant pulse that was equivalent to 20 trillion megawatts of radio frequency power. That would cook everything around it for miles, and that energy would go to ground. And I dare say it would probably cause an earthquake. If it was a man-made system, just doing it over like a country or something. But this is over the whole planet. Will it have a reverberation effect of some kind? A resonance effect? Will it excite the core of the Earth? I don't know. This is all new. I've never seen anything like it before.
So he goes on to refer, he's saying, oh, well, he'd been a skeptic about this event coming up December 26th and 27th, and now he was kind of eating crow about it. Maybe it was for real, blah, blah. So I thought, what event, And I looked it up, and there were several videos on it, many of them kind of, extremely, I don't know what you want to call it, but not something I wanted to particularly show you. It was kind of off-the-wall craziness stuff. But this one, especially right here where I'm going to be playing it, I think gives you a pretty good perspective. So I'm going to see if I can find that mark again. Just hold on. Right, I'm going to start it right here.
That mankind cannot comprehend. 2004, everything started. Why did it start in 2004? Because that was the impact of a magnetar. That's when the top of our atmosphere was ripped off by a wave sent by a magnetar. That's why. A piece of our atmosphere was ripped off and you didn't even know it in 2004. Nobody talked about that, did they? Anybody discuss that? No, they didn't. Oh, they had all the instrumentation in the world monitoring it. They were scared to death. They didn't know what would happen. They didn't know. But I'm telling you, they were deathly afraid because they saw it coming. They can see a lot of things coming. They're not going to tell you. For what good would that do? You would only get in the way. Telling you that in 2004, everything changed. And that's why in 2005, they hit the United Nations at the Climate Change Conference. What have you noticed? A change in weather phenomena. A change in earthquake activity. A change with the other objects in space. That's why we send probes all over the place. For proof of something, yes, but to also monitor. We've got satellites and craft orbiting just about everything we can, because they serve as an early warning system of what will happen to Earth. See, if something is just indigenous to Earth, maybe mankind can change it. But what we're having is not indigenous to Earth. It is not just for Earth. The entire solar system is beginning to do a wicked shimmy. And solar activity is a telltale sign of the exotic energy that's coming into the solar system. The sun acts as a shield to the entire solar system. The sun does, just as your skin acts as a shield to protect your insides and to keep things away from the precious internal portions of your body, right? So does the sun create a barrier to keep highly charged particles at bay. And every so often, it's pierced. The skin, we could say, that envelops our solar system is weakening and things are coming through. There's nothing mankind can do about it. And it's coming. That was December 27th. Earth was impacted by that blast. 2004, December 27th. And when you know it, we have another one coming in December. How strange. Why? Because there's a phenomenon in space called pulses, right? Pulses happen at intervals. Normally when something blows, like a magnet or something like that, it sends out multiple shock waves. It's like triple, quadruple explosions. Right? Well, they're headed towards Earth from more than one source. There's nothing anybody can do about it, which is why everybody's watching for the shock wave in October.
Okay, let me put a hold on this. So apparently the shock wave that in October was the lesser one. We didn't know much about. And they're saying now there's going to be this super huge one that the fundamentalists never, those naysayers are saying, was the end of everything, and maybe it is, who am I to say, but that's not what I'm receiving on it. However, this is serious business, and it's not, if you have listened to my video I made recently called The Changing of Earth, which is only about 20 minutes long, you'll understand where I and Thoth am coming from on realizing that we do need to let go of the old Earth. Things are changing. But at the same time, we don't pull the covers over our head and just wait for the end, because it isn't an end. It's a change. It's a transformation. And we're part of that. How we act, how we maintain our integrity, how we continue to uphold the rights of planet Earth during this whole time, creates the energy fields, the light codes, the divine envelope, shall we say, of the emergence of the new Earth in our beings, which we carry into a world system 2 continuum when light principle 40 occurs and we have the ascension. But that's kind of far off, really, compared to where we are now. But where we are now is very close, and indeed already slipping into the pyramidus radius matrix, which is the platform that extends us to be able to launch, shall we say, into the new Earth star. And that's a whole other topic. You'd have to go back to my stuff and read on that and listen to some of my videos on that. But anyway, for those of you that are up to date on all of that, you understand where I'm coming from. So this event that's already obviously affecting the planet, and so verified that was the case with what we just saw with that super wave that the guy was showing on the chart, coming and going today. And there will be this big event, energy wave coming on us, December 26, 27. There have been other major things happening. This particular fellow that was seeing the wave of today said he'd never seen anything like it in the 7 years he'd been researching, but 7 years is a very short period of time, really. And it's just all part of the process, is what I'm trying to say. There's not any one big event here that's going to do everything in any, for the only real big event, the biggest event, I guess you could say, is Light Principle 40. There are other big events, and I'm not saying this is one of them, but compared to what? How big is big? So I think the best we can do with all of this is to realize that the energy that's coming into the planet now is terraforming it. Not just terraforming it. Let's get a new word. I don't know. Metatronically forming it, maybe. I'll come up with a better word than that. I'll have to get to those with that one. But it's going to change the planet in a way that prepares it for Light Principle 40. Also, there are the golden tire regions of the Earth, the regions of the Earth that are actually translating into the new Earth star via its light codes, because not all the planet is. Most of it will fall away. Those are valuable to the new Earth star because it contains the original light seed codes that can interface with the planetary genius that's also will be taken from the planet at the very last moment into the new Earth star. All that is talking about previous information of mine going back, as far as the 1980s. So it's important for the golden tire allotments, as they're called, to be protected and nourished during these blasts that are coming through. And they are being. This particular blast coming up is a new level of our experience, in the current world frame that we remember historically. And so, and all of it is new in the sense that what's coming as a final result. Because all the other old Earth cycles went through a lot of stuff and they changed over and they had a new cycle where? Here, right here on this planet. What we're working for, what we're getting to is transcending this dimensional field. Not just dimension. I don't want to say that because we have a lot of dimensions connected to where we are. Transitioning from world system 1 to world system 2. And that means the new Earth star. And the new Earth star will be located spatially, not in this solar system anymore, as well as Venus. They will go back into the blue star Rigel sun star, inside it, where all the planetary spheres are in higher world registers of world system 2. Again, really far out stuff, I know, and it's all out there in my work, has been for many years. And when I started all of that, none of these dramatic things were showing up. So, and it was foretelling it. So I feel like it is a viable reality. Okay, so we're looking at the golden tie allotments. That's what I'm trying to talk about here because it's important. You don't have to be on one right now. I don't think I'm on one right now, where I'm particularly located in Kauai. I did receive, since I'm on top of what Thoth says, I'm on top of a pyramid complex, on top of a very pyramid here, where I live at the moment. I am receiving a lot of the codings and signals that are going on from the platform of the Pyramidus Radius, because this pyramid complex is part of the Pyramidus Radius. So it's interesting that I landed here for a second time. But you don't have to be in a golden tie area right now, so don't panic about that. The idea is that it's important for those land areas, for the codes to be nurtured, infused with newer energies, and preserved, saved, protected. That does not mean that all the golden tie allotment areas, which is 40% of the planet, I think, or was it 30%? I think it was 30%. It doesn't mean that you have to be there or anything. Not now. You'll just automatically be on those places when Light Principle 40 happens. You'll just go there because you chose to be a part of that experience. Internally, you'll just be guided there. It won't necessarily be a conscious act at all. But right now, these areas are needing to be protected in certain ways for the codes. That doesn't mean that inside those land areas that everything is just perfect. Of course not. There's pollution. There's people with their karmas and all kinds of stuff going on, but it's not thickly packed in that way. All the golden Taya areas have a special quality about them. And some of those areas, and they're gradients of it, the highest level of energies I don't know, energy is the right word, of clarity, of light engenderment of the golden Taya land areas are those that contain the chakras of the Ascension Temple grid. Second to that would be others that are related to that function. And then there are the rest. They're all pretty highly enveloped, but you would see a difference in certain ways if you saw those three different levels. So, that said, I want to talk about the crown chakra of the Ascension Temple, which is the Crestone, Baca Grande, San Luis Valley, most of it anyway, and Sand Dunes area. Because that area, being the crown chakra, is major right now in affecting the whole planet, as well as, what is the other area that's major in affecting the whole planet? That's the base chakra, which is on the Big Island of Kauai. Big Island of Kauai. That's a good one. I just rearranged the planet. Big Island of Hawaii. I'm on Kauai. And that's where the base chakra of the Ascension Temple is. It's also the major royal point of the planet, but the royal point is kind of moved over a little bit now because it hasn't moved over. The crust of the Earth has moved over. So there's a little volcano island bubbling underneath the water off the coast of the big island where actually the royal point centers. Of course, it's a bigger thing than that. It encompasses a lot bigger area than that little tiny point. But it's the big island and it's ocean area. So, which of course affects really the whole chain of islands. We're all of us here on these islands are in the bigger fire star matrix that Thoth calls it. So we have those 2 points. We have the base chakra and we have the crown chakra. And we're talking about the Ascension Temple grid. And those 2 are really working right now, sending energies and working. And of course, being the base chakra, it's also working with the royal point of the planet. And the royal point I believe it was Richard Hoagland. Was it Richard Hoagland? I think so. That brought up, the point on every planet that was. He didn't call it that. He called it something else. Is it what planet is it? Oh my goodness. Venus? No, not Venus. I have to go through all the planets. The big one. It's not Saturn. Oh my gosh, that big one that has a big red dot on it. That red dot is where that point is on that planet. And on Earth, it is right off the coast of the big island itself, right in there. So that's where all those calls it the royal point because it roils up from the center of the planet. And so when we have the actual ascension, that roiling is going to take place. And what's going to happen in the last moment is all the parts of the Earth that are not intended to go, or really any of it on a physical gravel, earth, rocks, trees level, is going to go away. Explode, incinerate, I don't know what, but it's going to leave. And the codes of the Golden Taya and the planetary genius and the people who have chosen to go into world system 2, their bodies will be turned into vehicular light-coated things. And we're all going to go flying away into the world system 2 state, And it will be back in Rigel, which is nothing. We think, oh my God, we're going to go all the way back over there. This is a holographic perspective of everything. We have to realize everything's right here with us. Everything. Mars, Jupiter, Venus, Rigel, Andromeda, Sirius, it's so here now with us. So don't go thinking of, oh, it's so far away. It will all happen and it will all come together. And it's going to be like, woo. Going to do my sound effects here. And it just all works, But right now we have a lot going on between the base chakra and the ascension chakra the crown chakra of the Ascension Temple. And all the other chakras, of course, are being affected as well of the Ascension Temple. But those 2 are the hot spots right now as all of this energy is coming because they are keeping the planet together. A lot of things that have been going on for some time now, especially since 2012, would have deteriorated the planet so far that this wave that's hitting would have completely, destroyed the Earth. End of Earth. Certainly end of Earth as we know it. Maybe not every little, it wouldn't blow it up, but, it would be gone for us. It would be gone for, Gaia would not be able to maintain her ascension codes. It will all be over and everything would have to start over. Or maybe Gaia wouldn't be a part of it anymore in the form she's in. Her soul self would have to leave and go into another embodiment. That's the darker picture of what would have happened, would be happening, had we not been a part of this greater hierarchical plan. And it's not the hierarchy that's planning it, it's beyond that. We're not going to go there in this video. But they're operating it and controlling. I say hierarchy, you have to have a name, okay? So I'm just calling it that. Altered beings like Thoth and all these, orders of consciousness out there that are our kindred, and we're part of that as well, on our level. So that makes what's going on at both these points, the base chakra and the crown chakra, very important right now for the planet. So let us look at the crown chakra of the Ascension Temple. And here we have, I'm going to move it out a little so you can see it better here. This whole valley area leading up to, this is a view of Crestone, the stone peak. This mountain peak here, the flat, sort of flat top one, this is where one of those two retreats are interdimensionally, of course, slightly removed from this dimension. The other's in underneath Lake Titicaca, or near Lake Titicaca. I think it extends underneath the whole area, and his retreat is in there. When I say retreat, it's not where he lounges around. I don't mean that. I mean it's an energy place where his streaming is very, very present for the planet on a high level octave. Not just the being Thoth, but what he brings forth into the universal continuum that we are experiencing. So that's what I mean by retreat. And also, this is where now, since about, I need to remember that year, but I think it's about 3 or 4 years ago now, the Ark of the Sacred On was delivered to its final thresholding place within this mountain here. So it's a pretty potent spot. And I lived there for 7 years. And there's more to come on that story for me with this area, which I will be talking about later. So, I want to read to you out of my old files something I received in 1999. Now, I was trying to find my original material on the golden disc in the valley of San Luis Valley. The San Luis Valley is much bigger than this and extends out. And somewhere in that valley is this golden disc, which is pretty close to this area here, which is the highest level frequency of the whole Ascension Temple area, is Crestone and this lower Baca Grande here that you're seeing, the flat land, and then the mountain with the crest there. But the valley itself is large. It's the largest high alpine valley I believe in the world. I'm not quite sure that I remember that correctly, but I think it's in the world. Not all of the valley, most of it, but not all of it, is in the Ascension grid. In any case, I went to my older files and I drew out some material that had come through to me regarding the golden disc. And I know I wrote previously on it, but I don't know where that material is right now. So we're just going to go with this. Thoth showed me the golden disc in the valley. He then formed in my mind a vision of several golden pillars of light beneath the ground in this valley. Now I'm going to pause and say that beneath this area, there's a huge, and I mean Bernie-sized, huge aquifer under there of water, large, and it's running over crystals. There's tons and tons of crystals. So we have crystalline water, crystal charged water that's running through this whole thing. So just kind of keep that in mind. And there's some other very special things about Crestone that I'll do on another video, but I wanted that to be in your mind as I read this. So 4 of these pillars were on the Sangre side in the Grants, as well as one closer to the Valley View Hot Springs area, and 2 over by the dunes. That's the Great Sand Dunes. The pillars were resonators created by the same illumined ones who placed the disc near the sand dunes. All of these devices are, of course, not on this physical level of reality, but instead are of a lesser dense physicality in a slightly but not entirely removed dimension. The pillar resonators, when activated, tune and tone the disc. They are periodically activated through a combination of light codes from human, Davic, and angelic sources, which key off of the golden star Mazuriel. Now, the golden star Mazuriel is in another universal experience. It's really hard to explain this stuff, folks. Sometimes it's just almost impossible. But the golden star Mazuriel is what we are all aiming for. It directs the whole consciousness of this universal continuum, the whole universal continuum, not just planet Earth. I'll just leave it at that right now, okay? So these pillars are the disc is periodically activated. Oh gosh, no. The pillar resonators, when activated, tune and tone the disc. These pillars are periodically activated through a combination of light codes from human, Devic, and angelic sources which key off of the golden star Mazuriel. Not all the pillars in the valley, a total of 12, are necessarily activated at the same time, nor is the degree of activation always the same. To impart a greater understanding of these activations, if we see activation of the pillars on a scale from 1 at least, to being the least, to 10, the greatest, in regard to actual effect upon the disc, the last 10 occurred 25,000 years ago. When the disc was charged by this activation at that time, the entire table of the valley floor shifted, bringing the aquifer we now have here into its more or less current level and flow. Oh, wow. I'm just now reading this because I haven't read all of this. I've been posting it, working with it, but I didn't actually read it. I was putting it somewhere. Anyway, so now I'm reading it. And this is interesting because just the other day I received that the valley floor was going to be shifting again. Now, well, no, I didn't receive that. I'm sorry. I received that the aquifer underneath was going to be shifting, not the valley floor. And there may well be a difference. I didn't feel it was like some huge quake thing that was going to just tumble everything and shift it around. That's not the kind of shifting I meant or I received, but it was something to do with the aquifer itself that would be shifting. And here it says that 25,000 years ago, there was a shift of the entire table of the valley floor. The last 10 before that pulverized a mountain range which once existed where the valley is now. This, however, was in conjunction with a cosmic event which the disk field drew into the Earth's experience. These were not negative events, but very much a part of divine plan. When the disk is charged in the lesser ranges, usually below 6, there is seldom any severe cataclysmic effect, but is more an etheric shift causing a change in consciousness among the beings of the area. Now, 25,000 years ago, I would hate to think that, the divine sources that be and the ultras and everything said, well, we're going to level this, and all the Native Americans and all the animals and everything just, were offed, they were killed in the process. That doesn't really sound correct to me. So I'm going to take a moment and go to Thoth and see, can they do that and be karmically okay with it? Just that kind of sounds like, a lot of stuff that's going on right now. Just a moment. Okay. Well, he's saying that there's at that time, 25,000 years ago, there was very little. The mountain range that was there was almost no human habitation. At the time in that area of this mountain range. There was the only human beings that might have been there when this occurred had all agreed on a soul level to participate, and they had a very important role in it. Same thing with the animals, the devas, the nature devas of the plants, the trees, everything. There's an agreed participation when things of that level happen that are part of this higher frequency experience. Now, they also wish to stress that the ultras didn't do this, the luminaries didn't do this. This comes from a higher level equation. The pillars were set into motion there, but this is a different matter. The pillars were set there by them to help facilitate some things. But this occurrence that leveled all of this Mark 10 vibrational activation, this was coming toward the planet. The pillars activated because of it. But the whole experience was a divine cosmic event beyond the technological versions of it all. So we have to really stretch our understanding here. Because, we have this thing about sense of fairness. And it's not fair that this happened, or it's not fair that that happened. And everything that happens has an agreement to it. And that doesn't mean we should allow negative things to happen, but it also means that certain souls have volunteered to become a part of the terrible abuse we see on the victim side, what we call the victim side, to help us open our compassion and our understanding as to what's happening. They volunteered those positions. Those positions were going to be filled, but the universe just doesn't do it where it just, you have to volunteer on some level of soul experience in order to participate in anything, even the worst, most horrific victimization that a person is experiencing. On some level of their solar being, they have, agreed to that. So I guess this kind of puts into perspective about leveling a valley. But as he stressed, the solar disk and the pillars themselves did not level the valley. They held the resonance field so that everything could be put together in the right way. I guess you'd call it that. This leveling of the valley came from a higher frequency dimension, God, source, self, beingness, whatever. Okay, so now that we've got that perfectly cleared up, we're going to move on. Let us look more closely at exactly where the golden disk is in essence, or what the golden disk is in essence. According to Thoth, it is a miniature star sun which has been created by what the Keys of Enoch calls the Binai Or. While this may seem awesome to us, such designer star suns are frequently created for such functions in the worlds governed by the brotherhoods of light. Again, I'm just using a catchphrase word, so it can be sort of understood kind of by some people. Its purpose in our midst here, in this valley, is multifold, and thus Thoth addresses with me only the portion of the purpose which pertains to this topic. This aspect of the purpose is to sustain, interpret, and respond as a creational matrix to the higher emanations of the Mazuriel star and its attendant cosmic emanations as they are received through the crown chakra of the Ascension Temple. As these energies enter this realm through the crown chakra, they commingle with the human, Davic, angelic forces at work here. This amalgamation, then flows out, striking the pillar resonators, which in turn vibrate. This vibration in various degrees, effects the staging of metaforming of the golden disk. When the golden disk goes toroidal, which it has yet to be fully accomplished, the crown of the Ascension Temple will send this signal out through the other chakras of the temple. While the other temple chakra areas do not contain star sun disks, their earth consciousness is all linking into the crown disk, specifically through the temple chakra alignment. Thus, when the toroidal signal is sent from the crown through the other gates or chakra centers, one by one, toroidal consciousness now begins to form in these centers. When all the gates go toroidal, they spin together a now moment in the golden disk of the crown. This is much like what takes place in the human body as the incarnated soul moves into ascension mode. Okay, I want to talk about that for just a sec. Things he was bringing forth again on the other topic that I didn't quite explain too well as I was reading this here is that the energies that the golden disc and the pillars are working with. It's not them that are creating this energy. It's coming from the universal spectrum. It's going to get here and hit the earth anyway, okay? But this field allows it, again, what did I say before, to keep the earth intact for light principle 40, for the ascension. Otherwise, the planet would be toast before then. So this leveling of the mountain range, what would have happened if the disc and the pillars hadn't been there to level it, to terraform it that way, is maybe the whole planet would have disintegrated then, or at least a large part of it. So the sources that be weren't creating this event. They were actually minimizing it, but minimizing it for purpose as well. So that makes a little more sense to me. Okay. I hope it does to you as well. Here we go. One of the major activations of the golden disc via the pillar resonators will occur when the blue fire meridian comes off the Sangres. That's the Sangre de Cristo mountain range that you're looking here in the picture. Opens various portals down its line of transit, which contain memory light codes of the original pure form of the planet, and rushes these codes down the valley, spooling up around the pillar resonators. As this energy builds around these resonators, the vibration of these devices will trigger responses in the toroidal staging of the disc. This time, the hierarchy is free to nurture this reaction along so that the least cataclysmic activity will occur and the change will move more fully into the etheric until the disc goes toroidal. Previously, conditions were not yet ready in the evolution of the planet for the hierarchy to step into this ushering role. However, we here in this region are expecting to participate in this ushering. Indeed, it is crucial that we do so. Most of the time, doing so to varying degrees subconsciously, yet conscious participation would be virtually helpful to the process. Okay, that's the basics of what I wanted to read to you on that. You don't have to be in Crestone. You don't have to be in an Ascension area or a Golden Taya area to be working with this. It's all for one and one for all. And so it's important for all of us to be involved in participating in this energy. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that everyone has to listen to all my videos and read all my stuff, or that they need to believe it, or that they have to use this terminology and know it and memorize it. None of that. You don't, your cousin in Kansas, who's a good person, a really good person, not perfect, but good, helps his fellow man, has a lot of heart-centered consciousness, is on the path with all of you listening to this video and possibly believing some of what I say here. However, those of us, like me and others on the planet, who are putting forth information that is viable to the current flow, the path of the highest evolutionary spectrum that we're working with, which I'm calling Light Principle 40, you are a star, all these names. That path, whatever you want to call it, those of us who are aware and connected to it, don't have to study it deeply, but connecting to it consciously, are going to be the ones who usher this energy into its fruition in some way. In some way. That means that the dairy farmer in Kansas and the whomever, wherever, those people, equally spiritually viable beings, will have access to the essence flow of that energy within the Akashic. The lower Akashic, of course, is breaking up, but they'll be able to more easily access it in the greater Akashic because we're feeding it now into the lesser Akashic, which is still there. It may be breaking up a little bit, and I can feel it in my own brain sometimes, but, it's still there. So as we feed that energy in, and people naturally pick up on it, I'm not talking about terminology and belief systems. I'm talking about the energy, the spectrum of reality itself that we are externalizing through understanding it in the way that we're understanding it here. I say we, those of us who are, with this particular work that I do, and others that are doing it in similar ways, maybe using a little different language. So we are helping those that are unconscious about it. Why else would we have this? Otherwise, nobody need to be conscious about it. We could just all, if we're good people, we just go and that's it, which would seem the simpler course. But for whatever reason, because maybe the way we've positioned ourselves as a world consciousness, we are needing this path to access and release ourselves from it. I say this path, not just my work, but the path of what I just said. People like me and others who are putting out information that are pertaining to this, that are credible and viable to a large degree, are helping the people that are not aware of this, that don't want to be aware of this, that don't need to be aware of this because we're being aware of it. We're doing it for them. What they are doing is connecting to it in the lower Akashic, in an essence pattern. And that enables them to also then, when the lesser Akashic breaks up, to more easily be attached to the greater Akashic and to the information they will need then, or the consciousness patterns they will need then. So that's what I was trying to say. Hopefully I was able to say it well enough. So in conclusion to this video, I'm sure this is a continuing subject. I've covered a lot here, and I've been a little discombobulated today. I wasn't planning to create this video, and a lot else is going on for me. So I hope you were able to understand it to a degree, despite all my verbal gesticulations. But in any case, it's just, with all of this, we just have to maintain a feeling that we're on a wonderful, beautiful ride to a new realm of being. It's really not that new. It's just new because it hasn't been with us in a long, long time. And even though there are challenges involved and all of this energy is impacting us individually and collectively, and it's a bumpy ride in that sense, but if you can just get above the bumps and ride the smoother level of the current. Simeon used to say something to me that I really just now recalling that is quite appropriate, I believe, for this moment, and that is that he would find in his deep meditations, something I'm not able to do, that is meditate, but in his meditations, he would find himself going with bumps, bump, 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 and his mind was all bouncing around, and all of a sudden he just he'd rise above it. He'd just rise above it and on the top part of the wave, because underneath in the ocean, you have all these currents, going this way and that way and that. But if you get on top like a surfer and you ride the wave like a surf, it's smoother. Yes, you dip and you go and you have to be on your toes and you have to watch where you're going. You have to be aligned, heart-centered consciousness, and aligned to cosmic universal perspective, but you're riding the wave. If you don't stay that alignment, you fall off the board, bam, wham, and you're underneath and you're being tossed around like in a washing machine. So what we need to do, I believe all of us at this time, is really, really be conscious of taking that deep breath and moving ourselves up on top of the surfboard, and getting aligned with that wave and feeling it and moving along with it. And not only for our own personal selves, but it will help tremendously for the planet if more and more of us do that. Gaia needs you right now. She really needs you. And it's not so much, certainly we all need to be aware and do what we can for the environment, pollution and all of the stuff that's going down right now. None of my beings are saying, oh, forget about that. Not at all. But we have to approach it from the perspective that the greater plan dwarfs all of that. It dwarfs it. And while we stay in integrity and viable interaction with our planet in the now and help it all we can and stand up for it, like Standing Rock and all of that. While we do that in heart-centered consciousness, like the beings at Standing Rock are doing, it's very important. But that said, all of that is about saving blades of grass and trees and polar bears and seals and our drinking water. Very, very important. Very important. But it's still dwarfed. It's dwarfed by this greater perspective. So we need to keep that greater perspective in mind while we are conscientiously dealing with what we have at hand, which is witnessing in divine light and participating in upholding the divinity of planet Earth by not accepting pipelines and, all this stuff that's polluting our world. Because if we let that go and we just focus on the bigger plan, there is no bigger plan than the now moment. But that said, if you look at what we're aiming for, what's coming upon us and where we're really going, that's what I'm saying is dwarfing everything. Because it's just something that will cleanse and purify and change everything for the better. But it can't happen until we can accept the now moment as an equally viable, interactive place to uphold and recognize the spirit of the earth and of each other. And we do that in ways that say, no, we don't wish pollution. No, we don't wish to become servants, slaves of the archons. No, we will not do this. If we don't start at the grassroots level, then this dwarfing thing that I'm talking about, this bigger thing, is pointless. We have to start at the grassroots level. So it's about encompassing both ends of the field. And that's not easy because you get focused on one or the other. It's hard to say. Both are so, so important. Because they almost seem to contradict one another. You say, well, if it's not important, if the greater scheme of things is the most important, then why hold on to this? Let's just wait for that. Or you say, well, I can't see that. That's something way in the future. I got to work for what's here now, and I'm going to fight and scrabble for it, and I'm going to look at it from this perspective and this perspective alone. These are both lacking. We have to bring them together. And I've said this before, and I'm saying it again, and I'll continue to say it because it is so, I believe that is the most important thing. And how you picture those realms, is up to you. But these realms are part of it's the alpha and the omega of the whole universal holographic experience that we are creating. Okay, well, I guess that's my closure statement. I was going to make it like 2 sentences. So, anyway, thank you all for listening. Much aloha.